Hi, friends. You're listening to the HLS podcast, where we talk about different cities and cultures from all over the world. My name is Hussein, and I'm joined here by my co host, my twin brother Hassan. Hi there, my name is Hassan. This episode is about Singapore. Singapore is an island city state. Singapore is also its own capital. Instead of cities, Singapore is broken down into towns, each of which has its own jurisdiction. There are 4 official languages of Singapore: English, Malay, Chinese, and Tamil. English is the most widely spoken language. Please enjoy. Hello, Hafiz. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine today.
You are currently in Singapore, right?
Yes, sir. I'm born and raised here in Singapore.
Could you please talk about yourself a little bit? Introduce yourself.
All right. Here goes. FYI, I'm still single. I'm 31 years old. Currently, I'm working in this company called Pacific Refreshment. What we do, we is under Coca-Cola company. It's quite well known in all over the world. And during my free time, I'm not a big fan of staying at home, so I will do some part-time job. There's this app called Gojek. Sometimes I will drive around, earn extra cash.
Yeah.
My hobby is, I would say, your typical soccer boy, a huge Arsenal fan. So, watch soccer a lot.
Wow. Is it popular in Singapore, soccer?
I would say yes. Most popular. Almost everyone watch soccer. Those who doesn't play soccer definitely watch soccer because of bettings, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, you said betting. I've seen in Malaysia they are not allowed to do that because they are Muslim. And what about Singapore? There are Malay. Are they allowed to do that? To bet?
Well, to be honest, Singapore is a multi-racial country, so I would say definitely we are allowed to gamble by all means. It's just your individual belief. So let me touch up on the multi-racial country thing. So Singapore consists of me, myself, a Malay community, a Chinese, Indian, and Eurasian. So living under one flag, I would say a country. Yeah. So definitely a modern country. But of course, we have a lot of restricted things that we can't do.
Yeah. And majority are Chinese, right?
Yes, majority are Chinese. If I'm not mistaken, oh my goodness, I can't give the exact amount or exact percentage, but majority are Chinese. Minority will be Indian and Malay, and followed by the Eurasian.
And also, the Singapore it's not like other countries. It's a city state, and it's a bit different from other countries. Could you expand on that?
One thing that I can explain on the geography of Singapore. Singapore is really small. Some call it an island. Some call it a red dot in the map. So it's like you can travel one end to the other end by car like 45 minutes. So it's really small. So that's why when people say that they had to travel back home for 3 hours, in that context, we feel that, hey, 3 hours is too long for Singapore. So when you say a city state, everywhere is quite accessible. Like you can take the train. We have good bus service. There's another thing called, of course, the private hire app, like a Gojek. What I drive to send people around to earn extra cash. So usually it won't take more than 3 hours to reach your destination. Worst case scenario with traffic jam and raining days, 1 hour the max, 2 hour around there. It really traffic jam. But other than that, Nah, 3 hours is, yeah. Usually the local will say you travel 3 hours, you can go Singapore to Kuala Lumpur with that time duration.
Hmm. Okay, so English is the official language, and do you know how other people greet each other? I mean, Malay, Chinese, Indians, how do they greet each other?
We definitely, of course, English is our first language.
Yeah.
I'm a bilingual, so I grew up speaking Malay. But of course, when we are in primary school, or I think some country call it lower grade, something, yeah, junior school, something like that. So we really taught how to speak English. How we interact with each other from races to races, definitely in English. Some of the older generation, maybe like my granddad or some grandfathers,
Hmm.
they some of the Malays can speak Hokkien, can speak Chinese, Mandarin.
Ah.
Some of the Chinese uncles, they can speak Malay because they mix a lot with the Malay community. So definitely, yeah, English is the main language. So whoever coming over in Singapore, if you can speak English, yeah, it's easy to mix and to socialize.
Is it common for Malay people to speak Chinese or for Chinese to speak Malay?
To be honest, it's not common, uh, because usually we just speak English nowadays, unless like
Hmm.
some of the, let's say, coming from a certain family like a Malay family, if they are brought up in a speaking setting, then they will tend to speak English with their Malay friends. Same goes with the Chinese and
Hmm.
Indian. Like if they brought up with a speaking, I mean, English speaking family, so they will speak English with their own local or community. But yeah, it's not common. It's only up to each individual whether they want to learn, or yeah, they want to learn the third language, like picking up Mandarin or picking up Tamil or maybe Malay. So yeah, it's not by force, but it's up to individual.
Hmm. I see. And what do you think might surprise foreigners if they visit your hometown?
Well, I already stated three things that foreigner quite common when they visit Singapore. First thing first, um, they would say it's clean.
Hmm.
Secondly, safe, and lastly, expensive. So let me expand on the clean part. Majority of tourists when they came over, they say, hey, Singapore is quite clean. There's no rubbish. I have to say that it's
Hmm.
part of the cleaners, and a huge respect and salute to the cleaners cleaning up these beautiful countries. And some of the tourists say it's quite green, like that we implant a lot of green stuff like the trees and plants, like
Hmm.
especially like Hassan, you been to Singapore, like when you alight when you alight from the Changi airport, our international airport, on the way to the town,
Hmm.
the whole stretch of this, we
Yeah.
call it the highway, the whole stretch of the highway. So they plant a lot of trees and colorful red flowers. So yeah, try to be as clean as possible. Secondly,
Hmm.
safe. Almost anywhere you go, like nobody gonna disturb you. Like especially women going out late night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. Like nobody gonna approach you, or maybe pickpocket you. So it's almost safe. But of course, I need to highlight this, that low crime doesn't mean no crime.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
second,
Yeah.
and lastly, expensive. So some of the tourists that I spoke to, some of them mentioned that it's very expensive, and it's similar. The thing that they mentioned is like it's the Las Vegas of Southeast Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would also add airport. Yeah,
Yeah.
airport. It already, you will see how green is Singapore already from the airport, because there are so many flowers, trees, even the garden. So it's
Waterfalls.
so beautiful. Yeah. It's like It's like the fairy tale.
Well, not if I am not sure. Have recently there's this a new place, they call it a fountain in the airport. So we put an indoor so-called waterfall uh, in at the
Hmm.
airport. So there's a mall in the airport. So even during this pandemic, it's quite a good idea that our airport, they're still visited by the local buying stuff.
Hmm.
So even though there's no flight coming in, there's no tourists coming in, but there's
Yeah.
a few restaurant over there, and shops are operated. So business is still still operating
Running.
quite normal during these
Hmm.
bad times.
I've heard that you have a at school you have a class, racial harmony class. That's how you call it.
Yeah, I guess so. If I can recall, I mean, I have not been school for maybe 10, 15 years. So yeah, we did have
Hmm.
that during my time in primary school. So racial harmony is just to to share, and also we have this thing. I think if I'm not mistaken, on the I forgot which date is it, but we have racial harmony day. So
Hmm.
so what racial harmony day means, like,
July 1st.
yeah, July 1st. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, you're
maybe.
more local than me.
Yeah,
Thanks to
this is the
Wikipedia.
thing that I admire the most about Singapore, how well you communicate with each other, and you can really see this in an advertisement. You will see like three races: Indian, Chinese, and Malay, and so this is something that
English also there. Okay, yeah, four languages.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is something you can really see.
Well, I would say it's not an overnight thing to be done, like to
Hmm.
achieve this harmony stuff, but it takes a few years, and I have to thank definitely our grandfather, you know, time when during the 1980s. Of course, racial harmony day. What we do is, like, we dress up to our ethnic costume to school. Like, let's say the Chinese will wear their cheongsam and stuff, and the Malay will wear their traditional clothes, and the Indian so forth. So,
Hmm.
and of course, to remind us, what happened during those dark days where both race have disagreement, and fight over. So yeah, is to remind us not to repeat the same goals, and to show us that
Hmm.
everyone, even you are Chinese, Malay, or Indian, or Eurasian, everyone in Singapore is the same. We all are Singaporeans.
Yeah. Wow, this is cool. And I've read that Feng Shui is something really big in Singapore, and they are it's one of the highest paid job. Is that true?
Oh, to be honest, yeah, I want to sign up to be a feng shui master.
Wow.
To be honest, I have no idea. Like, they are the highest pay, but I can tell you briefly, like, what's feng shui about. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, feng shui is about, like, let's say, as an example, when you move into a new place, then you have to
Hmm.
usually, okay. So firstly, first, feng shui is practiced by the Chinese community, but uh, not all of them practice. Some does. So when they move to a new place, a new flat, so they will call a
Hmm.
feng shui master to enter their house. So the feng shui master will tell them, like, okay, this house a bit of there's no luck. So they try
Ah.
to move certain furnitures, organize a certain angle, so it bring more luck to them. So yeah, that's a brief explanation feng shui is. So I'm not sure
Hmm.
about other stuff. So that's my general knowledge about feng shui.
I see. So it's not about to change your furniture to buy a new one, but more like where to put it, the angle, right?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, it's just
Hmm.
to I can't say redesign the house, but to reorganize certain places. So they believe, like, a certain place, if you put your chair in certain doors, or maybe sides of the house, more luck will enter. And yeah, I can't explain more on these things. Definitely, I'm not a specialized under Feng Shui, but yeah, that's what I can say of.
Yeah, maybe later you can explain more after you take the class. You said you sign up, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, since you say it's a high pay job, I will be a feng shui master. I will sign up.
And how long is the class? Like, how many months?
I, to be honest, I got no idea like how. I think yeah, I didn't take any feng shui class.
Ah, I see, I see. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
sorry. I thought you already signed up and you
No,
were
I
about
was
to
just
start the
kidding.
class.
So yeah, well, maybe soon I will sign up.
Soon.
I need to do some more homework on feng shui.
I see.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about Singlish?
Oh my goodness. Singlish. There's usually we will, as you can, I think from the essence that you hear from my English is a bit Singlish. I must say it's not that British slang. Yeah, not some American slang. So,
Mm-hmm.
so Singlish is usually where we put, at the end of the sentence, la, law, lay. Like maybe one example that I can give you guys, like how like when a friend asks me how's my day going by, I would say okay lah. So means
Mm,
okay lah means like not bad.
yeah.
Yeah, or maybe a friend will ask, hey, how's the new car that I bought? Then I would say okay leh. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like still it's the same definition, like yeah, not bad for a thing. So
Mm-hmm.
um it's quite difficult to explain, but yeah, just because of the law and lay,
Mm-hmm.
it's simplify everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's mostly English, but you add some maybe Malay word, Chinese, and la.
Yes, yeah, yeah, have you, yeah, something like that. So just put at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the sentence, but of course, not every sentence you put la, lay, and law.
Yeah.
It's just certain some like okay lah, okay law, something like that. So it's a bit difficult. Like of course nowadays, when like some Singaporeans, when they spoke to a certain foreigner, they try not to speak in Singlish, but if you're talking to a older gentleman, maybe a mature adult who's like maybe like 50 or 60 years old, yeah, they tend to speak a bit of Singlish here and there.
Uh-huh. I see. And what is the misconception people have about Singapore? What do you think?
Um, those who haven't traveled to Singapore, like I mentioned, like they are quite surprised how safe and clean it is,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe some Westerner, they 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 have this prospect, a mind of them saying like, hey, Southeast Asia, are not that developed.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you visit Singapore, like I mentioned, like when some of the Westerners visited Singapore, they think that, hey, Singapore is like the Las Vegas of Southeast
Mm-hmm.
Asia. I would say I think nowadays, I would say nowadays everybody knew what is Singapore is, because of the latest movie Crazy Rich Asian. Yeah, because of that movie,
Yeah.
it put us on the international map. So roughly right now, I
Mm.
think no more like, hey, Singapore is a normal country, like our neighbor country. So it's really, yeah, out there. I think majority of people know who is Singapore, and where Singapore is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I heard about the Singapore for the first time about 10, 15 years ago, and I've seen the documentary, I thought I would not be able to go there maybe in 10, 15, 20 years because it's so expensive. I was thinking I maybe I will be able to go there by the time I'm 40, when I will be able to afford afford it. But when I went there, it was quite how to say. I didn't expect that It's expensive, but not
It's that
not
expensive. Huh?
that expensive, yeah, as I thought it would be.
Well, I would say it depend on like what do you want to do in Singapore. Like if you want to have your your lunch, your dinner in some five-star restaurant, then it's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, travel wise, like now we have our alternative. Like if taxi is still slightly expensive, but not that expensive in certain countries. But there's an alternative. Like some people take the app thing like called Gojek and Grab. It used to be Uber though in Singapore. We
Mm-hmm.
still we used to have Uber in Singapore. So this app thing is slightly cheaper. Maybe I would say 50% cheaper than the normal taxi fare.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the things that makes Singapore cheap is definitely. I mean, if you're talking about food,
Yeah.
we don't eat or we don't go to restaurant every day. um, we only went to restaurant like some occasion like birthday parties or maybe certain occasion, then we go to restaurant. Other than that, we will go to your normal hawker center where it's quite I would say affordable. Yeah, because everywhere in
Mm-hmm.
Singapore is increasing right now the price, so it's quite affordable. So there, that is our get to go for dinner, lunch, even supper. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Singapore is a bit. Our Singaporeans is a foodie. We love to eat. So yeah, so and also like if you travel to Singapore, in the city,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite easy to go one place to another place because everywhere is compact. Like example, if you want to go to Chinatown, it's easy to go to the main city, just maybe 15 minutes,
Yeah.
20 minutes walk, or a few station train ride. And if you want to go to the Little India where a lot of Indian stuff is over there, so it's also another like one stop, two stop. So everything is quite compact. It's quite
Mm-hmm.
easy to travel. So I believe, yeah, it save us a few dollars to travel in Singapore.
Right. Yeah. If you could choose three aspects of your culture to put in a time box for the future, what would you put in it?
Oh my goodness. I would say the first will be the Malayan statue. Yeah. So this Malayan is a mixture of a head of a lion and a body of a fish, something like mermaid. So I would like to put that. So
Uh-huh.
it represents Singapore. I think almost everyone that travel to Singapore would like to take picture with this iconic figure, the
Yeah.
statue, this Malayan style where it's on top, splitting water. Secondly, food, generally food, because food
Mm-hmm.
is one of the thing that we local love. We love to eat. Like I'm not talking about just the Malay community. I would say every food, everything. Like like if you speak to some Singaporean who stay abroad quite sometimes, definitely they miss the local delights like the spices. Maybe for the
Mm.
Chinese, the char kway teow. For the Malay, maybe for me, I prefer my nasi lemak. Like for the Indian, maybe the prata. It's quite authentic in Singapore. You can't get it anywhere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and lastly, I would say, yeah, the racial harmony things. Is I hope it's a better future for the whole world. Like because of this pandemic happening around the world, we could learn certain things from different. Everyone, I believe everyone is the same regardless of religion or race or your skin color. So everyone is
Mm-hmm.
equally the same, whether you are male, female. So yeah, that's one of the important things to put in a time box. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. And what culture besides your own do you admire and why?
Um, Currently, I mean, I'm used to like every culture is good, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I when I was young, I always loved the Japanese culture where how they pay respect to everyone, how they spoke politely. like how they behave in public train, like they don't talk in public train, like how clean, and like they recycle, so they do stuff quite systematic. Like I would say Singaporeans are not there yet, so it's also for me to improve myself. Like I'm quite outspoken myself, so I'm trying to be as nice as when I talk to people, like more positive things. That's one of the thing. Second thing that recently I'm into is the South America culture, because like they say familia. So the family, they really love their family. They will go like having birthday parties, like gathering with family. So yeah, currently I'm into their cultures too, and I'm still learning a bit more about their culture. But at the end of the day, when I learn all this culture, it's also to improve myself personally. Like everybody, that's what started me traveling, to learn
Yeah.
something new about myself.
And what is your favorite place to visit with your family or with your friends?
Well, in Singapore, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, in
yeah.
Singapore.
um, First come in mind, I would suggest Mustafa Center. So Mustafa Center is located near Little India. So this Mustafa Center is the only shopping center that open 24 hours. So it's like usually when we have a lot of not a lot of free time, usually when we got nothing to do, like late night, so we will head down window shopping at Mustafa Center. So they will have a lot of stuff like first floor chocolate, groceries, some stuff for cars, like maybe wax or leather stuff. So books, so all in one place. This Mustafa Center, and the best thing is 24 hours, like I mentioned. But during this pandemic, they only operate till 9 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, 9 to 10. So Mustafa Center is one of the places that I would definitely visit with my family. Secondly, I think some of the listeners have heard this place. So one of the places that I visit with my friend is this place called Arab Street. So Arab Street is some of there's a few hipster cafe over there, and recently I noticed there's a few Turkish restaurant just opened up in Arab Street. The thing that I love about Arab Street is the buildings, the architecture, and also the Sultan Mosque is over there. It's one of, I believe, it's one of the oldest, biggest mosque over there. So it used to be the place where Arabs in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, in 1970s or 1980s, to stay there and do trading. So yeah, and now it's a modern place, and the Malay Heritage Center is located over there in Arab Street. So if you visit Singapore, yeah, highly recommended Arab Street.
Arab Street. Okay. Yeah, and one thing that I've heard that shows that the government really takes care of the people. There is a special card you receive when you are 62, right?
Ah, yeah, that's the thing. I'm not, maybe birthday card. I I guess it's called the CPF thing. So like when you reach 62, hopefully when I reach 62, so I will receive a pension money, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So every month of my salary, so part of my salary, like 20% of my salary, will goes to this account called CPF. So this account that I can use to buy my house, so it will subsidize, deduct whatever I have in that account. So when I reach 62, I believe the government will give us a pension money, like every month, $200 $300. It depends on how much do you have in that account. So yeah, I think it's the CPF, what you mentioned.
Oh. Yeah, and I've seen that people use these cards when they want to cross the street because the traffic light will last longer.
Oh, okay. Now I know. So this is only that card is only for senior citizenship. Yeah. So those
Hmm.
poor elderly that can't cross. So this card, when they scan on this traffic light, yeah, like you mentioned, it will last a
Yeah.
bit longer for this elderly to cross the road. And this card is just,
Hmm.
the purpose of that card is not just to do that. Of course, when they travel, taking the trains and the buses, there's a few, I mean, slightly cheaper for this elderly. So yeah, and also nowadays, this we call it the EasyLink card. Nowadays you can use that card to to purchase food, drinks in
Hmm.
some convenience store like 7-Eleven. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's quite convenient to have that card. Nowadays, I think every Singaporean have that card. But of course, my card, when I scan the traffic light, is it doesn't exist. It's only for senior citizen.
Yeah. And what is the best time to visit Singapore?
Well, wow, that's another good question. There's a lot of things happening here in Singapore. Like, it depends. It's definitely Singapore is always hot and humid. No okay, raining
Hmm.
season maybe at the end of the year. The best time. It depends, to be honest. Like this coming next week. Next week is fasting month, so some of us, like the Muslim Malay, we are doing our fasting month, and Ramadan is
Hmm.
also around the corner. So it's the best time to visit, Geylang Serai, where they will light up the whole streets, and we have vendor, selling local delights and also a bit of fusion food. Yeah, like you can visit during the Chinese New Year, the earlier part of the year, like Chinese New Year. You can visit Chinatown, where also the same things happening, like same lights, celebration,
Hmm.
a lot of luminous lights. And if you visit during around Diva Bali, yeah, November period, yeah. So Little India also will light up with
Hmm.
their colorful, and then is happening over there, where people will rush down late night. The local Indians, they will buy a lot of their stuff. Yeah, so it depends, but personally, I will highly recommend like during the New Year Eve, because you can celebrate
Hmm.
Christmas, where we have also lightings on Orchard Road, and also you can catch the fireworks during Christmas Eve. But of course, a heads up, is usually crowded, so
Yeah.
you can catch the fireworks during New Year Eve. Yeah, so long story short, I would say it depends on which time, which day. There's no particular timing, and also we Singaporeans, we celebrate every festive season, because every festive season is
Hmm.
holiday to us.
Yeah, I see. So it depends on what you are looking for.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, Hafiz, is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
Well, usually I will recommend tourists who travel to Singapore. Don't travel Singapore like the whole month or a week. Usually, to be
Hmm.
honest, Singapore is just take 2 to 3 days, yeah, to travel here in Singapore, like transit, because everything is quite compact. It's quite nearby. It's
Hmm.
just like I mentioned, like 1 to 2 stop train station away. So, uh, of course, if you are young, 2 to 3 days, or maybe, yeah, five, I would say 4 days the max, you already complete Singapore. Then
Hmm.
I would highly recommend like travel, either like travel to Singapore, then slowly up to Malaysia and Thailand, because
Hmm.
it will be a waste trip if you just travel Singapore and you head back, because Singapore and
Mm,
Malaysia
yeah.
and Thailand is quite nearby. Indonesia is quite nearby too. So usually I will highly recommend, like, it's either way. It's either you travel from Singapore, then slowly going up to Malaysia and Thailand, or either way, Singapore before we
Hmm.
became modern, and in infrastructure and economy wise, we used to be a normal countries, like, similar like Malaysia and Thailand. And now, yeah, 20 years down the road,
Mm-hmm.
we are quite modern, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah. That's a good advice. Okay, then, Hafiz, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, it was so nice to talk to you, and we really miss Singapore. We will go there definitely
Definitely. I mean,
again.
it's nice to, to have me in your podcast. It's been an honor. I mean, like I mentioned again, like I told you guys, keep doing what you are doing, because, spread love, not hate. You guys are always
Hmm.
welcome in Singapore, and of course, if you travel to Singapore, do call me up.
Sure.
Let's have a cup of tea, and, talk about life, and country that we visit.
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
And if you come to Uzbekistan, visit Tajikistan.
Yeah, it's the
That's it.
same thing you said about Singapore, Malaysia. It's quite close. So thank you so much. We really enjoyed talking to you, and take care. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can send us an email at theachilofs@gmail.com. And you can find us on all the major podcast platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and so on. Until next time, goodbye.